And it is Christopher Juliano, number 16 on our Player of the Year leaderboard. He is on your left. Danny Jessup, number 18 on our SCG Player of the Year leaderboard. He is on your right. Players are given the green light. The record 7-1-1, and away we go.
And if you've played against flash strategies, if you've played against decks like Fairies in the past, you know that you have to get your work done early here. A lot of pressure on Jessup to have a 2-drop here, especially on the play.
Well, he does have one. It is a copy of Sylvan Advocate, maybe the best 2-drop he can have.
His list is playing 4X, and I assume the same is true of Jim Davis and everyone else playing the Team Metagame Guru's deck. Playing 4 mana copies of Lamphole Pacifist, which I imagine is great in this matchup, very powerful against someone trying to play a flash game and not casting spells on every turn.
It's a Reflector Mage, our first of what will likely be many of those today. Going to take care of the Selfless Spirit. Sylvan Advocate's going to come across for 2. And we're going to head back Juliano's way. This is the kind of start that you have to have against a blue-white Spirit deck, especially the way that Juliano's is built.
Exactly. If you spend the first couple of turns of the game not doing anything, and they're able to sit back on their heels with a handful of instants and react to the plays that you make appropriately, it's an uphill battle. Very important to get the work done early.
Back over to Jessup we will go. And we will see what he can find for this turn. He's going to start things off in the Evolving Wilds. Serve in here for 4. Juliano going to fall down to 14. And that'll be it for Jessup, though he is holding up a Spell Queller and he has a Dromoka's Command, so his hand looks to be pretty good.
And that's the other thing about getting your work done early in this format. Very important now because of Spell Queller. A devastating play tempo-wise if you're on the back foot and have to cast into it.
Juliano with land number 4. You can see his hand. He's got Ojedi's Command, Selfless Spirit, all that jazz. Also has a Spell Queller of his own. The problem here is that he's behind on the board, and the next spell that he's going to play will likely cost 4 or less mana, and that's where Queller really builds its tempo advantage.
Exactly. Juliano might have to do something like not do anything this turn, cycle an Ojedi's Command to try to induce the Spell Queller, and then cast a 5-drop. But I don't think he can afford to just main phase a 3 or 4 mana card into Jessup's available mana.
The Evolving Wilds will be sacrificed here by Jessup. He'll search himself up a basic island, but that's really the effect that Spell Queller's had on the metagame through the 9 rounds that we covered yesterday and the beginning of this 10th round. It really changes the way that the games are played because no longer can you say, oh, my opponent has mana up, it's Dromoka's Command or nothing. Now it's probably Spell Queller, or at least you have to think about Spell Queller, and it contorts the way you have to play.
And it's a card alongside Reflector Mage that's extremely punishing if you are behind. I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on people to put more 1- and 2-mana cards into their deck to get something going on the battlefield so Reflector Mage and Spell Queller aren't swallowing up your 3rd and 4th turn.
Can't be Vistas in land here for Jessup. He's going to come across for 4 more yet again. We'll see if Juliano has a response here. Juliano's got a pretty good hand, but it's the Spell Queller that's causing a problem. And now with Jessup having mana available, 5 to be exact, we can talk about Collected Company. We can talk about a lot of different things as here's a Spell Queller. We'll see if this will resolve or not, as Jessup is going to think things through a little bit here.
To me, this seems like a fine spot to get the Dromoka's Command going rather than cast the Spell Queller. I think Spell Queller's got a little bit more value here. And the window to resolve Dromoka's Command, it's an awkward card. It's going to be not the easiest card for him to resolve profitably at all times.
Jessup, he's going to Spell Queller.
And this also might just be a function of his mana, because he has a Dromoka's Command and 2 Spell Quellers in hand. So he may want to have the option of essentially spending 5 mana now, rather than have a hand jammed up with 2 Spell Quellers and only 5 mana to work with.
Port Town the draw.
Nice.
It came into play tapped. Are you shocked?
I am not.
No.
We have seen a lot of Coastal Towers this weekend, a lot of Elfheim Palaces. It's brutal.
Those lands are brutal sometimes.
It's brutal because it comes into play tapped 100% of the time when you really need a land to come into play untapped.
Yeah, yeah, it's really rough. Two mana. Looks like he might go back to that Selfless Spirit that he played a little bit earlier. He has another copy of Selfless Spirit in hand, does Juliano. The tough thing there, obviously, is that he would have probably preferred to just be playing Archangel Avacyn this turn. Though, if he's able to make it out of the next turn with a pretty healthy life total, we can be seeing Archangel Avacyn transform because of Selfless Spirit's ability to sacrifice itself. So there is something to work towards here. And the question is, can he get there in time? The cards in hand for Juliano are the Archangel Avison that I just mentioned, an Oathstide's command that he's had for a little while, and then a copy of Clash Wolves, which he's just never really had the opportunity to cast, as now here's Dromoka's command. Sylvan Advocate looks like it's going to fight a Selfless Spirit.
Imagine the Mausoleum Wanderer simply will counter this, but we will find out in a moment.
Well, the way that Danny's reached for the die, maybe he's expecting it to resolve, hoping it will resolve.
I think he's going to cast this card anyway. It saves him 3 points of damage. Or it resolves, and that's good too.
Mm-hmm. All right, counter there. Jessup will untap. He's in a very good position. Lands and spells are good draws right now. Sylvan Advocate the draw to go along with another Spell Queller, and now the Canopy Vista he just played. So that's line number 6, which means Sylvan Advocate is on. Well, Jessup will survey the battlefield, just try to figure out exactly what happens. My opponent does have 2 copies of Selfless Spirit on the battlefield. Doesn't appear that too much goes wrong in a spot like this. Those are just 2-1s after all.
Yeah, the question is just if he's willing to trade the Spell Queller for the 2 copies of Selfless Spirit. But giving Juliano back a Spell Queller does not matter a whole lot in this spot. I suppose it's something that can bump against the Reflector Mage, and at that point all Juliano has to do is answer the Sylvan Advocate, and he's got the game stabilized.
Mm-hmm. See how Juliano may want to block here.
I think the reason for this attack, even though it's a little bit on the risky side, is that Jessup has another copy of Sylvan Advocate in hand.
Mm-hmm.
He makes it very juicy for Juliano to double block the Spell Queller here, and then Juliano falls to 4, and he has 2 Sylvan Advocates in play. So he has 2 lethal attackers against no board next turn. Allows him to play against Archangel Avison pretty efficiently.
He gets to go block Sylvan Advocate, block Spell Queller, sacrifice one of those Selfless Spirits to keep my other Selfless Spirit alive, end up taking 2, fall down to 8. The follow-up here for Jessup is another Sylvan Advocate, as you did mention. Now he'll pass the turn back with 4 mana available, which means so much when you're playing against this deck. That said, Juliano's hand is pretty forced on what he can do here, and I think it revolves around Archangel Avison.
Yep. It's going to cast this and try to make some headway in combat here. Although it is outside by those 2 mana Sylvan Advocates.
Jessup will draw. Didn't get a great look at it. But with the way he just shrugged his shoulders, he says, everybody's coming in here. I'm feeling pretty safe about things. Here's Archangel Avison. Well, the draw was Dromoka's command, which is a real doozy.
Yep. I think that's going to be too much to overcome here,
yeah,
as he'll go down to 1 blocker here, and then the Sylvan Advocate and 2 2-power creatures adds up to 8 damage.
What's kind of interesting about the way Juliano has played this turn, he could have just played a main phase Archangel Avison, sacrifice Selfless Spirit, transform the Archangel Avison, and then that would have dealt 3 damage to the Reflector Mage and the Spell Queller, getting a Spell Queller back, and also having a 6/5 Avison against 2 Sylvan Advocates. Now, I think that he might still lose to the Dromoka's command that was drawn, especially because he takes 3 from the Avison flipping and goes down to 5. But, you know, it's kind of tough to say. I think that the Dromoka's command may have just been the best draw in Jessup's deck.
Yeah, I think that or Collected Company, the 2 best things going on. I think from Juliano's position, he wanted to make some effort to get some of the Sylvan Advocates off the table, because they're a problem even in the event that he flips Archangel Avison. But Dromoka's command, as you mentioned, the most problematic draw of them all.
As it oftentimes is, and that is going to take care of this particular game. Danny Jessup's going to win game number 1 here over Christopher Juliano. Bant Company up a game over Blue-White Spirits, as both these players will go to their sideboards. We will do the exact same thing. We'll start with Christopher Juliano, as he will be on the play for game number 2, and you'll find 2 Silk Wraps, 2 Blessed Alliance, 2 Negate, 2 Jace Vryn's Prodigy, 1 Confirmed Suspicions, 2 Planner Outburst, 2 Bygone Bishop, and 2 Summary Dismissal, the brand new counterspell.
I like going a little bit bigger here and trying to get some more card advantage in the deck. The 2 copies of Bygone Bishop, the 2 copies of Planar Outburst, the 2 copies of Jace, and the 2 copies of Negate all seem great for this matchup. I even think the Confirmed Suspicions could come in here too. Reasonable number of 4s and potential 5 mana spells in Jessup's deck.
For Danny Jessup, he's got 2 Negates, 2 Nissa Vastwood Seer, 2 Tireless Tracker, 2 Aerial Volley, 2 Tragic Arrogance, 2 Declaration in Stone, a Dispel, a Summary Dismissal, and the brand new Tameo Field Researcher.
A good setup here. I like the Negates, the Nissas, the Tireless Trackers, and the Aerial Volleys. All very solid cards to the matchup.
Seen Volley a lot in sideboards this weekend, but not getting a lot of use, but this is clearly what it's for.
Exactly. It's particularly good against Spell Queller, and if people are playing the low to the ground build of Spirits, a lot of 1s and 2s, you have the possibility of getting some 2-for-1s. I think that Spirits naturally protects itself from the 2-for-1s pretty well because Mausoleum Wanderer, Selfless Spirit, Rattle Chains all kind of insulate yourself from the dual shots and aerial volleys, getting a lot of threats, but still, a 1-mana removal spell in the worst case scenario is a big upgrade for this matchup.
Well, as these players do sideboard up, it'll be Christopher Juliano who's on the play for game number 2, so we'll be watching that in just a moment, but we will talk about the StarCityGames.com weekly sale right now. That does end at 10:59 a.m. tomorrow East Coast time, so make sure you do head over to the website and check out what we got going on.
Remember, every Monday, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time, we come out with a new sale, so make sure to go back to the website on a regular basis to see what the new weekly sale is. This week we have a sale on sleeves, dice bag, dice, deck boxes, and other supply kits. So head on over to the website and make sure to check back next Monday, 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern time. Check out the new sale.
We'll learn a little bit more about Danny Jessup now as he does shuffle up for game number 2. Him and his brother, team MetaGameGurus.com, along with Jim Davis, Kevin Jones, and Pete Ingram, though they are going to be losing a teammate here in Pete as he will be headed to Seattle to work for Wizards of the Coast. That said, Danny, a 24-year-old from New York, his game has improved quite a bit over the past couple of years.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of growth from him. There's a lot of players that we've gotten to watch over the years. I think Todd Anderson and Ross Merriam probably at the top of the list of strong, steady improvement where they're tournament mainstays, and I think Danny Jessup is on the cusp of getting to that point as well.
It's been fun to watch Danny grow along with his brother. These two guys forming what is probably the most dominant team on the SCG Tour thus far in Team MGG. Again, the Jessup brothers, Jim Davis, who is your players champion, Kevin Jones, who is the daddy, and unfortunately losing a member in Pete Ingram. But we'll see if they do want to add a member to the team or not. They've kind of made an announcement on their website that, we're not looking to just fill the spot. If something does come along that makes sense, but they'll consider it. But I think what's kind of fun to just watch these 4 guys really test a lot, grow a lot, and seeing a lot of fruits from their labor.
Yep,
that's for sure.
Listen, Strong Island's got some talent out there.
Ooh, I like that
there's
name.
There's no shortage of strong Magic players that they want to add, but no reason to do it just for the sake of doing it. You got a good thing going. You got a crew of people that you trust, that you work well with. You don't necessarily have to add for the sake of adding.
And they can play Magic. They can play some video games too. Long Island Joe getting 5th at Street Fighter V's grand finale at EVO last weekend. So they dabble in all areas of esports. Mm-hmm. It's pretty awesome to see. Looks like both these players are going to be starting on 6 cards at the very least, as they both sent their hands back. Some people have commented on Twitter that might be losing my voice a little bit here for the first time in doing this for 4 years.
Well, it could be a consequence of all the screaming we did playing NBA Jam at the Barcade yesterday.
That could be what it is. Or it could just be me simply losing my voice out of nowhere.
Yeah, could be random.
Yeah, it could be completely random.
There is also something I could point to as a possibility.
It's not our fault that we won so much yesterday.
I think that we went 4-3, but it felt like we went 40-0. What a game.
We started slow. It's a build.
Look, have you ever gone 5-3 at a Magic tournament and you're like, this was the worst day of my life?
Yes.
You won over 60% of your matches and it still feels like the worst day of your life. NBA Jam, on the other hand, felt like I won the Pro Tour.
I felt invincible. It was unbelievable. Here's a Selfless Spirit. You saw Jessup start off with a Lumbering Falls. Picked up a copy of Collected Company. Does he have a 2-drop? He does not. That's actually pretty important in this matchup.
Huge. One, because of just the general strategy of a flash deck like Blue-White Spirits, and second, as we mentioned before, Spell Queller, especially problematic when you fall behind.
Here is a Forest for Jessup. He'll pass again. Really slow to the board. Here's Anticipate. That will resolve. Juliano will take a look at the top 3. You get to take one with him. Not sure if he has land number 4 just yet, though. There is a Plains in there, so might be under consideration.
It's tough because he's looking at land number 4, and he's missing. I don't think he has a land drop for next turn, or Spell Queller, which seems great in this spot. But I think with 2 Archangel Avacens in hand, he's going to err on the side of just making his land drops here.
Well, he's found a card he's happy with. Time to draw. And he did take the Plains, so there is the Plains. Here's the Selfless Spirit attack. Well, Bounding Crisis is going to slow that down. All right, that is tapped for good. See a couple copies of Stasis Snare in hand, and he'll play that right now. So Crisis is taken care of.
And main phasing that flash spell. Again, the concern about Spell Queller here looming over both of these players' plays at all times.
And what's interesting now is because now we might see Jessup main face his Collected Company because he's worried about Spell Queller.
Correct.
And that's exactly what you'll see. So the way the games are played has certainly changed now as Jessup will take a look at the top 6 cards. Duskwatch Recruiter, Bounding Krasis are the 2 cards he has to take because those are the only 2 that are in there. And now he will simply pass the turn back. We'll go back over to Juliano. Be a nice turn to cast Archangel Avacyn if he has it. He has an island. Now how does he want to set it up? Because he has the ability here, if he'd like, to say, all right, I'll attack you for 2 in the air, play Archangel Avacyn, sacrifice himself with Spirit, let's play this game.
Yep. Clear out the board, have the biggest thing on the battlefield.
I find that Archangel Avacyn is just a pretty tough card to play because there's, he might want to just try to get him in combat.
Yep. Alternatively, he also just kind of trades even against Dromoka's command.
Here is Archangel Avacyn. He will sacrifice a Selfless Spirit, pass the turn back. Also, worth noting as well is that if Juliano didn't do anything, the Duskwatch Recruiter would have transformed.
Yep.
So,
I like this play. It's not without risk, but
yeah.
I think this is the right way to go.
I think it's very risky because Jessup is also looking at a copy of Collected Company again. If he hits our good friend Reflector Mage, this whole plan goes up in smoke. But if he doesn't hit Reflector Mage,
he loses
whatever. Well, there's Dromoka's command, so that takes care of that. Now Jessup will draw. Oh, nice. We'll play Plains. Here's an attack for 2.
If it makes you feel any better, any way you played it would have been a disaster.
Yeah. Jessup would have hit a Reflector Mage no matter what. There's an island. Juliano will pass the turn back. Jessup will activate the Duskwatch Recruiter. Take a look at the top 3. The whiff. We'll go back to Danny. Duskwatch Recruiter's triggers on the stack for transformation, and it will transform. Spell Queller the draw. Kalinord Howler will come across for 3. And Juliano might be thinking Archangel Avacyn, and he is.
I don't think his hand really allows him to do much else other than this. Again, I know it's risky. A lot of things can go wrong here, but I think you got to at least try.
Oh, will Jessup try Collected Company?
Well, the risk with Collected Company is he's drawing to essentially just Reflector Mage. If he Collected Companies and just finds random creatures, this Archangel Avacyn is going to swallow something up and then
kind of loom over the battlefield.
Yeah.
But as we know,
it's always there.
It's always there. It's never not been there.
Oh, and alongside of Thalia, so the next time that Juliano plays his Avacyn, like 7 turns from now, it'll come into the battlefield tapped. Okay.
Yeah. I've seen worse turns. And it's kind of nice too because Jessup has 2 mana left over for the Spell Queller in his hand.
Right, that's on the discount now because of the Flip Duskwatch Recruiter.
Yeah. So how's that? That's kind of annoying. It's probably problematic.
And if those port towns weren't coming into play tap before,
they sure are now.
They sure are now.
I just think that, these decks that are based around blue-white, they just really need a kick. They need a little help.
Right. Especially against, creatures that cost 4 or 5 mana, Because that's a place where Reflector Mage typically struggles.
Yeah.
So,
Selfless Spirit, kindly leave. You've been Spell Quellered. We'll see what's next for Juliano. Which I don't think it's much. He has a Stasis Snare. It is nice that Avacyn's going to enter the battlefield tapped. Way too good and untapped.
Yeah.
Way too good.
The perfect Collected Company.
Yeah. Seems like they always are. All right. Stasis Snare is going to take care of that. Now, Juliano, oddly, it's It's crazy to actually think this, but he actually does have the ability to kind of come back in this thing. The reason I say that is because of the Selfless Spirit in combination with Archangel Avacyn. He can actually get some work done here.
Yeah, he can try to set up the combo from last time.
Absolutely. Here come the beatdowns from Jessup. For 7, Juliano's going to fall down to 8. Jessup's hand right now is a Lambholt Pacifist and a Reflector Mage. I like this play.
Has to Reflector Mage this to keep Juliano off of the line you described.
Mm-hmm. Now the scary thing is if Juliano draws exactly Planar Outburst. And I think he may have drawn a copy of Essence Flux.
It doesn't work. Remember, everything's coming into the battlefield tapped because of Thalia.
If he drew Outburst, it would have been a beating.
Yes.
But we don't even know what the composition of his deck is after sideboard. He has access to 4 Planar Outbursts throughout his 75, 2 in the main, 2 in the board, just like Jeff. But we don't know if there are any left, and we know he doesn't have one in hand.
Yeah, and just nothing here works because of Thalia.
Yep. This is really the first time we've actually got the opportunity to see Thalia really kind of flex her muscles like this.
It's shown up in some games during day one, but this is the first time where you're living the dream.
Yep.
This is the dream scenario. What people imagine with this card, it's happening right now. Juliano just is a step behind and can't catch up because of Thalia. And Reflector Mage.
Yeah, that. And that is going to do it. Danny Jessup's going to win this match over Christopher Juliano 2-0. Bant Company going to take care of Blue-White Spirits. Reflector Mage is at it again.